It's good. If it wasn't for the sun baiting us, we're getting jumped by the sun every 24/7.
That's on. Us.
Very good, very happy, very happy, yeah.
Better than being at home. It's like 3 degrees at home and raining.
It's very cold, very boring, and it's good that it's open again and we can all come out and get nice and drunk, which is very good.
There's lots of bars up the strip that won't open this year either. Maybe picking up a little bit.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another Off the Cuff. Interesting one for you today. So I'm quite fascinated with sharks. I guess mostly great white sharks, because why bother with the little ones? You know, it's like dogs. Either have a proper one or just don't bother. And I feel like if you're going to be interested in sharks, I guess there's kind of quirky ones out there, but you know, their job is to feed, and well, I guess everyone's job is to feed and recreate. And the great white shark are especially good at that with sea mammals. As they get older, they would feed on sea lions and seals. Yeah, basically anything that's big and blubbery. Obviously whales, they love a good whale. Don't we all? But yeah. And a few areas of the world are lucky enough to have great whites. So I believe there's 5 different like gene pools of great whites. So the Mediterranean, which are the least in number but the biggest. You then have the Australian, South African and New Zealand shark, which are supposed to be the most aggressive. And they'll kind of swim back and forward from South Africa across South Africa up to Madagascar, and then like across to Australia and New Zealand. You then have the Russian, Japanese, Chinese ones, and then you have obviously both sides of the US, the east and the west coast. And a British holidaymaker was on vacation in Australia, in Perth on the west coast. Perth is renowned for having many, many white sharks, and big white sharks. And unfortunately, this guy, Paul Millichip, was attacked and killed, and then the shark took his body. Now, you know, listen, I wouldn't wish this one on anyone. As somebody that's into sharks, I have read hundreds of shark attacks. Many from Australia. A lot of the most brutal ones, unfortunately, are from Australia. And I assume that's because they don't have a very big population, but the population that they do have, you know, I think it's like 25 million, but the population that they do have is pushed right out onto the coasts. And most of all, mostly the east coast, but also the southern coast. And those are the great whites hunting grounds. There are far more great whites on the south of Australia, where the water is cooler, than on the north, where it's a lot warmer. Well, you get more likely to get things like tiger sharks, I guess bull sharks, and so on. Anyway, so I was just casually, I occasionally, possibly this is a bit sick, but every once in a while I'll type in shark attack. Yeah, that is quite sick, isn't it? And just, not for that reason, but just I'm interested in, you know, seeing what's happened, and, you know, everyone wants to know if it's been caught on film, let's be honest. And unfortunately, this one popped up. They are fairly frequent at the moment, but they do go in waves. In fact, there was a documentary where they could almost pinpoint when there was going to be an attack in a certain part of California near San Francisco, because it was happening almost to the day every 2 years. And I remember a few years ago they were saying in Australia that 2020 is set to be a bad year, and it was. There were 8 deaths. But unfortunately, they have kind of made their own bed when it comes to shark attacks, because they hid a lot of shark attacks, as did everywhere with tourism hide shark attacks. Peter Benchley was not going from his own mind when he, he wasn't pulling from his own memory when he wrote that into the film Jaws about people hiding shark attacks. It's a well-known thing. It's been going on for decades. In fact, and the main reason that I realised this was because many, many years ago, I started making a list because I kept hearing about these shark attacks that were never that were never being listed. So I would go on to Wikipedia, or I would go on to, I can't remember, there's some websites that deal with that sort of thing. And they would never be on there. But then I would hear stories about them and recreations about them and even pictures of the people. And I remember hearing one from South Africa where 5, I think they were Zulus, or maybe, I can't remember. Anyway, and they were swimming out to this place to fish sea snails, and they were doing it at night, and it just so happens that there's around 1,000 great whites in the water around there. Probably the worst place in the world to go swimming at night, and they were all killed. And I thought, why isn't that on the records? And the reason for that is because they like to differentiate them with provoked, unprovoked, and they also tend to just miss them off coincidentally. But like I say, it's because it affects tourism. Anyway, my long-winded garble essentially ends with the fact that I was watching this news report. I thought, wow, isn't that sad? Geez, a 14-footer, that would have been a fairly big shark. Although obviously they can get up to 22 feet. And then, right at the end of the news report, the guy was just like, and climate change. What?
After 2 days of searching for his body by sea and air, the authorities finally called off their recovery operations, knowing there was now little hope of finding 57-year-old Paul Millichip. The British father of 2 had been attacked by a 14-foot great white in front of his horrified wife and children. This amateur footage taken just after shows the fin of the shark still circling and a dinghy piloted by local teenagers warning swimmers to get out of the water. Mr. Millichip's wife, who didn't want to be named, bravely paid tribute to her husband.
Rest in peace, Paul. He died what he enjoyed doing the most, which was exercising.
The children who faced down a shark bigger than their boat witnessed the gruesome attack close up.
The dinghies were there trying to get the body into the boat. They obviously couldn't because the shark kept going at it.
This is the 3rd fatal shark attack this year in Australia. Experts say warming oceans are making endangered shark species stray further for prey.
Their numbers are declining, so whilst we're seeing this increase, I think this increase is a sign of their stress levels and of the dangers and the difficulties that these guys are facing out in the wild, and not an increase of aggression.
Shark attacks are still relatively rare, but this one involving a great white so near the centre of Perth has left many locals shocked and asking questions about whether man's damage to the planet is making these encounters more likely.
So yeah, he essentially is blaming shark attacks now on climate change, and it's funny because Dan, who I do the long form podcast with, was saying, and obviously he has slightly different views to me, but yeah, he has often said that the media will start blaming everything on climate change, even the most absurd things. And listen, excuse me, I understand that. I have no doubt that you could possibly link an increase in shark attacks to climate change. I just don't think that that's what's happened here, and I don't think that they have any. I don't think that they have any proof. I don't think that they have any reason or any evidence to back that up. I just think that because for the upper middle classes, the sort of unneeded middle management types, that because it's cool to be talking about nearly fell off. It's cool to be talking about climate change and things like that. That they are just inserting that, and I just find it funny in this specific incident. It's just so out of the blue. I mean, look, everybody knows that Australia is a sharky place. You think of Australia, you don't think of cats. Let's be honest, and unfortunately, when you have and Australia is also a fairly newly inhabited place, how could I put this without... I'm so sick of like treading on thin ice. We didn't know what was going on there before, so we have no record of it. How's that? So since records have begun, we have seen many, many attacks there. And like I say, the ones, they haven't even listed a ton of them. So 8 is not completely absurd. There have been 10 and 12 in a year before, whether they admit it or not. If you speak to any abalone fisherman, they will tell you that they hide them, or that they try and blame them on something else. Oh, it was a boat accident. But yeah, listen, with regards to climate change, I really don't have much skin in the game either way. I'm not a climatologist. I'm not a meteorologist. Everybody can have their own opinions, and like I'm sure that everything we've done on the Earth has not had zero effect. So yeah, like I mean, it's difficult because in our country, 2 years ago we had Jeremy Corbyn telling everyone that climate change was going to end the world in 8 years, and then you had Jeremy Corbyn's brother. Jeremy Corbyn is just a politician, by the way. Then his brother, who is an actual climatologist, telling people that it was ridiculous and that the Earth just goes through cycles. I don't know, like I say, I'm not a climatologist or anything like that. So yeah, tell me what you think. I just find this was very jarring because it was just so bizarre. Like climate change is going to cause great white sharks to start attacking, even though they've been attacking for hundreds of years. And the rate is not especially higher. It was due for a bad year and we got one. This year is nowhere near as bad. But still climate change. Like I say, I'm not talking about climate change. This is not supposed to be about climate change. It's just about the fact that they're pushing it into things in the same way that we've seen a lot of social engineering in their TV adverts as well. Anyway, cool. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it enjoyable, and I will see you again soon.
Winston stopped writing, partly because he was suffering from cramp. He did not know what had made him pour out this stream of rubbish